So Grayson Tucker is uh, he's our next speaker, has recently attended Nova Scotia, well, COGS, Nova Scotia Community College in COGS, earning a postgraduate certificate in GIS. Before that academic work, Grayson completed a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science from Trent University. And during his undergrad studies, Grayson worked as a research assistant and academic assistant with Trent School of the Environment. So Grayson has a strong passion for GIS technology as well as environmental conservation. And at NSISC, he is our mapping and data specialist. So Grayson is going to show you how NSISC is using GIS in invasive species education and prevention. Grayson, I can see your slides and you're unmuted, so take it away.
All right. Thank you very much for that introduction there, Ken. As Ken said, I'm the GIS technician for the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council. And today I'm going to be talking about how we use GIS in invasive species education as well as prevention. So before we kind of get into the main topic of this, which is education, it's really important to know and understand what GIS is and how it can be used. So the acronym GIS stands for Geographic Information System, for those who aren't familiar. And it's in its simplest terms, a GIS is any computer system or software that is able to manipulate spatially referenced data. So spatially referenced data, it's again sounds a bit more complicated than it actually is. It's just any sort of data set that has coordinates attached to it or relates to a spot on the Earth. Uh, this can this technology can then be used for data analysis, so you can find different trends, patterns, and it can also be used to make informed decision making as it persists to environmental issues as well as invasive species management. And it can also be used to communicate your findings through the creation of both formal maps and documents. There's a very wide range of disciplines as well in which GIS is useful. While it's heavily used in the environmental field and invasive species management, other completely unrelated disciplines, including businesses, use it. Engineers use it as well. So here's just kind of an example of one of the more widely used and kind of famous examples of GIS mapping for an educational context. I'm sure we all remember, 7 years ago, when the COVID-19 pandemic was happening. Johns Hopkins University created a GIS dashboard, which was used to kind of track the spread of COVID-19 across the world and give different totals and different live data analysis regarding its spread. Uh, this kind of shows how effectively it can be used in educational contexts. And this was actually one of the first kind of things that exposed me to GIS is looking at that. So kind of neat. In terms of invasive species education, using education uh, is one of the most important tools that we have when dealing with invasive species and trying to prevent the spread. With invasive species as a whole being a constantly changing field with changes to distributions, new introductions, and changes to legislation surrounding various protocols, it's critical that we keep the general public up to date. And one of the best ways we can do this is through education. This further helps support early detection and rapid response. So making sure that we get ahead of the invasive species curve by figuring out where they are and acting on them early. And this is only possible if people know what they're looking for and if the general public is aware. In order to achieve and communicate effective environmental education, three factors are kind of at the forefront of this. So these include accessibility, simplicity, and location. So first of all, ensuring that the information is easily accessible in a format that engages the user and doesn't have any barriers. So for many academic papers, for example, there's a paywall behind it, or it not being very easy to understand or use. Making sure that accessibility is at the forefront is really important. Kind of going hand in hand with that, ensuring that the information is simple enough so that it can be seen and understood by a wide range of audiences is also very important. Sorry. Um, so then lastly, location is also hugely important. Um, with many environmental issues, individuals result in psychologically distancing themselves from the actual issue. So this is kind of a thought process of, oh, it's not happening to me, it's not happening here, and this is often used as a coping mechanism to deal with the uncomfortable information that's coming to us, which seems like a lot these days with climate change and everything like that. So by showing and utilizing location in our information and education, it helps limit this so that people know that issues are happening here and now. So this kind of brings us to the meat and potatoes of this presentation. Why are we going to use GIS in education? So using GIS can serve as a form of place-based education, which is defined as an approach to learning which utilizes geography to create meaningful learning opportunities. Simply put, if information is more relevant to somebody's around where they live, they're more likely to use that information and act on it. Which leads me to my next point. It results in more significant contributions and connections with the information, which then results in more engagement and stewardship actions. It also helps users look at large data sets and kind of visualize them for themselves, also promoting technological literacy and helping people get comfortable with technology that they might not have been interested in or exposed to if they hadn't learned about it through this. So as a result, we've created a variety of GIS-based educational resources to be hosted on our website. We use web-based Esri products in order to create or to host the data, and we use various data sources in our collection. So some of these include iNaturalist, which has been widely spoken about today, which is just a citizen science-based platform. We've previously mapped out DFO publications in the past. We've used some of our old field survey information. There's also plenty of open data sources, so the GeoNova Geographic Data Dictionary we've used quite a bit. HRM Open Data Portal, as well as HRM has provided us with data in the past. The province of Nova Scotia Open Data. And then finally, for some of our historical reports of species, we've used the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, or the GBIF. So it's important to note that with GIS, you can use it in like a wide range of applications. So you can either use it very simplistically, or you can use it in very complex kind of ways. So an example of this, so if we just want to map very simplistically sampling sites, you can take the data, put it into a GIS software, and create an informative map. And this is an example of a rather simple kind of map, not much thought process going on, very just, okay, that's where the locations are. GIS can also be used for very complicated things. So this map will show over 6 different data sources. You take them into the GIS, you map them out, you analyze them, and then you get a map like that. So it's important to note that with the web applications that we've created, we've kind of gone more on the side of simplistic sort of mapping. And this is just in order to try to appeal to the accessible and simplistic aspects that I mentioned previously. So currently on our website, we have 4 educational GIS resources. So first and foremost, we have our Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council web mapping application. This helps show users the locations of 8 different species across the province. It uses iNaturalist data as well as GBIF data. Next, recently we created our native plant nurseries application. So HRM had some data regarding where native plants were being sold within the province. And so what we did was we added it into this application, and it lets users find the specific plants that they want to grow for their garden that aren't invasive. And this also ties in as well nicely with our Grow Me Instead guide, as many of the plants that we've added in and are hosted in there are within that document as well. We have a Don't Let It Loose dashboard, which again shows the locations of various invasive species within the province. This shows species that are commonly associated with the pet trade or intentional or accidental releases. And then finally, we have our zebra mussel story map. This is more or less this is more of a text-heavy document, but it does have some mapping components to it. It lets people know how zebra mussels have spread, what they can do about it, how to identify a zebra mussel, and then the slide that you're currently seeing, it allows users to kind of examine the spread from when they were first introduced in the Great Lakes over time to over to Manitoba and New Brunswick. So now it's time to do a little bit of a demo. So I'm going to show off some of the resources we've been working on. So let me just if we go to the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council website, in order to find these maps under our resources and programs, you go to the interactive map section. All of our different applications can be found under here. I've already got them loaded up because they will take a couple seconds to load, so I'll just go from there. So first and foremost, we've got our NSISC web mapping application. When it boots up, you're taken to kind of an instructions pane in order to teach people how to use the map, how to explore, and what different tools are. So if we want to take a look at with what Tyler was talking about, so Japanese knotweed across the province, we can click up here, take us to the Japanese knotweed pane. There will be a little bit of information about the species, a picture of what to look for, and a legend. For this, it's pretty much you're letting people kind of see where the distributions are. If we want to take a look and see directly, is this species near me? We can click on a button down here. It'll show you your location. And then we can say, oh, okay, there's a few reports all around me. So something to look for. And then kind of one of the most important parts of this is our educational pop-up. So if you click on a point, it'll tell you the date and various information surrounding that point, as well as a picture. And it's important to note that we've kind of gone through and made sure that these are correct. So if there's any that aren't correct, we take them out of the data set so that we're kind of screening the data and making sure that it's correct. So next, this is our native plant nurseries application. We have a list here that updates based on what is in the map extent. The kind of the neat thing about this one is that you can filter based on what species you're looking for. So let's say I went into the Grow Me Instead guide. I saw a species, an invasive garden plant, and I wanted to find a spruce that I can plant instead of it. If you use a keyword up here, it could be anything, but I'm just using spruce as an example. You can filter at the data and then see, okay, I can get it from these 5 different nurseries. And if you click on a nursery, it will bring up an informational kind of pop up with the different species that are available, as well as some of the contact information. This is also current as of August 2025. So we're going to continually update this as the years go on. And then finally, for what I'm going to show of our educational stuff, we have our Don't Let It Loose dashboard. Very similar to the web mapping application. It allows users to click on the points, see what is at a specific location. So here we can see report. You can take a look at the different species as well. There's also a running tally up in the top left to see the number of reports across the province, and then some more educational information that lets users see what the impacts of specific species are and kind of a bit more information about them. So then we are also working towards creating resources that can be used not only for educational contexts, but also for some of our partners as they relate to invasive species management and other things like that. So this is one that we're currently working on. It's not quite ready yet, but this is our aquatic invasive species finder application. So what we did was we took data which DFO sent us regarding AIS reports throughout the province. We combined them with GeoNova polygons to basically show which water bodies within the province have an aquatic invasive species. And this will be really useful for us as well for our decon operations so that we can see and plan if there's an invasive species that's been located in a specific water body, whether we have to plan to do a decon event there if there's a specific event going on. And I'm just going to do a quick demo as well of that. So when you boot it up, all of these polygons and areas are different water bodies. Similarly to the web mapping or the native plant nurseries, the list will update as you move around. So if I zoom in onto a specific lake, it'll take a bit to load, but this will update. You can also filter by the specific aquatic invasive species you're looking for. So if I want to see where goldfish has been reported, for example, you can click on the goldfish, turn on the filter, and it'll filter out any results that don't have goldfish in them. And then similarly, if we're looking for a specific water body, so if I'm going up to Cape Breton and want to see Lake Ainslie, I can filter out the data. I might have spelled that wrong. Filter out the data for the specific water body. So it lets us look for different things if there's events happening and plan our decon operations. But our hope is that our different partners can access this as well. And lastly, again, we have informational pop-ups. So if we click on a specific point, it'll tell us which invasive species have been reported, when the first report was, and the most recent report was. So a quick thank you to our funders as well. Without them, none of this work would be able to happen. So thank you all very much, and thank you for the support. And are there any questions?
Thanks very much, Grayson. I don't see any questions at the moment, but some kudos, lots of kudos. I just want to make a couple of points here with respect to what Grayson has presented. So a few years ago, I was involved in some surveying, and we looked at, we asked people in Quebec and New Brunswick about their knowledge of zebra mussels, and it was very, very little. People, it's something, I think it was 86% of people said they either had no knowledge at all or only a little bit of knowledge about zebra mussels. And when we're doing education programs, it's really tough to get people to clean drain dry their boats, for example, when they don't even know what a zebra mussel is, never heard of them, don't have any idea on the impacts. So doing a story map like Grayson has done is a big, it's a big benefit with respect to just trying to raise the amount of education so that you have a sort of a ripe ground to be able to get people to understand more about it and then become concerned about it and perhaps take action. So that's one example. The other one with the lake or the water bodies, sorry, and the knowledge of invasive species that are in them. That data provided to us by DFO. For us internally, because we run a decontamination unit to clean boats and decontaminate boats. If we're going to be going to a fishing derby, for instance, if we can now take a look at that lake and see if there's any invasive species in that lake. And that's really important when you're planning your decontamination work, because if there's invasive species present in that lake, you want to be washing boats as they come out of it to make sure that they're not, the people that are with the boats and trailers are not spreading it to another lake. If there are no invasive species going in there, then you're looking at prevention, and you really want to wash those boats before they get in there. If there's enough risk, perhaps they've identified that they were in another lake previously. Last time they launched their boat, they did have invasive species. So having that information and having it at our fingertips and mapping like this is really an important operational issue for us. So I just wanted to point that out. Any questions here? There's one from George there. If you want to tackle that one, Grayson, just popped up.
So thanks for the question, George. So with iNaturalist, you have options to export the data. So as I mentioned, we do clean it. So if there's I can't remember one, but when I was creating one of the web mapping applications, there were some reports within the species that were pretty obviously wrong. Like, for example, fish being reported as a plant. Just kind of sometimes it'll happen. So yeah, all of these are updated periodically by me. So probably in the winter there won't be as many observations. So maybe once every 2 to 3 months, I'd say. But during the summer, when there's more observations, I'll update it each of the layers once every month. So the points are added by people in the iNaturalist, but then we take the data and add it up here. And for example, the photos, we only include the photos if they have specified their licensing, so that we're not using any other kind of information that we're not supposed to. Um, so we don't this is mainly all educational resources. If spread is noted as speeding up. We have one of the maps that I made at the beginning. We did do some mapping on different factors that contribute to aquatic invasive species spread. So if people are using their boats there, if there's public boat launches, if there's access to specific spots as well as water chemistry, then we've kind of mapped that out and know, okay, well, these water bodies are of more risk, so we need to kind of keep use of them. If we do notice anything speeding up, we'd probably make a note of it, but it all depends on really what we have the capacity to do.
Okay, and Courtney's got a question.
No, we actually hadn't considered that. We do use a lot of Survey 123 in our surveying efforts. So when we're mapping out our Phragmites stands, when we were mapping out our DSV stands in Houston's project, we did use that. And we did have the option to take photo. That's a really good idea, though. Having kind of a side iNaturalist thing would be very interesting. Yeah, you've inspired me now. I've got the gears turning, so that's a really good suggestion.
Okay, not seeing any other questions. I just want to, one other thing here is just to highlight, Grayson talked about um, the Chromium stead application and the data that was gathered by HRM. So last year, HRM had an intern that contacted every nursery that they could uncover and ask them about the native species that are particularly listed in the Chromium stead guide. So the information then that was gathered. Sean Adal at HRM asked us to take a look at it and see if we could host it on our website. And so we handed it to Grayson, and Grayson developed this map. So, which also the same sort of approach is used in the app that we've developed. So the iPhone app that we've developed. So that information will have to be kept up to date because the nurseries, of course, they're not always going to be carrying the same products. But it is a really good example of cooperation. And if there's anybody else in the audience that is has some ideas on data that they have or whatever any needs that they have, just reach out to us. We'd be glad to talk to you about it.